I will cover three areas: the past of renewable energy by the private sector, the present, and the future, in very, very brief form. The first grid-connected small hydropower plant was developed by one Mr. Sumanasekara in the year 1996 with a small 0.96 megawatt project called the Koya. And he went through a lot of hardships to start this project, and in the year 1997 he commissioned that project. There's a reason why I'm talking about the first project. I'll come to that later. So today, as Noel also showed, we have achieved 270 megawatts in small hydros, 90 megawatts in wind power, and collectively over 365 megawatts. Even though so many people say that we have achieved this, it is actually the private sector who has achieved this with a lot of hardships. And the private sector is contributing 6.3% of energy requirement of the country, as again showed by the chart of Noel. And as Mr. Ashok also highlighted, most of the, Dr. Anil also highlighted, most of our developers have now moved on to African countries and have been quite successful in developing projects in those countries. This is the breakdown which Noel also showed with 128 plants of mini hydros and so forth, totally 367 megawatts in operation. This was shown by Noel also. And the present. We are proud to say that we produce cheapest energy except coal, but also if you take coal, the real cost, you also saw that the actual cost of coal is much more than the renewable energy. And as many said, we suffered 2 years without a tariff. Fortunately, we just now heard that the tariff has been implemented, again with a lot of shortcomings. One thing is we had two types of tariffs. One is the 3-tier tariff. The next is the flat tariff. Flat tariff has been taken out from this cabinet paper. The reasons given were that the central bank was not in agreement for the flat tariffs. They could not realize that the flat tariff and the 3-tier tariff gives the same IRR when you calculate. So that is the central bank of the country. And every year, new authorities adding up for us to get the approvals. I will just go to my next slide. This is the approvals which we had to take when we did our first wind power plant. Even to date, the next wind plant which we are doing, we are going through the same process. You can see there are 37 approvals to be taken. Starting from SCA, Ceylon Electricity Board, Board of Investment, Provincial Environmental Authority, Coast Conservation, PUCSL, Pradeshiya Sabha, Survey Department, Forest Department, Civil Aviation, Wildlife, Irrigation, Agrarian Services, Archaeological, District Land Using Committee, Divisional Secretary, Urban Development, Provincial Land Commission, Provincial Chief Minister, Ministry of Defence, Valuation Department, Land Commissioners Department. So people think that doing a hydro or wind is quite easy. And around 50 megawatts of small hydro plants running and under construction stage without a tariff, because we did not have the tariff for the last 2 years. So there are many who are running their plants without making money. And why I said about the first plant. Those plants have now completed 15 years, and again without a tariff. We are fighting for a tariff of 7 rupees for those plants who have completed 15 years to be connected to the national grid. And all the authorities are saying no to that. They want it at 5 rupees. We can't even pay the salaries of our workers at 5 rupees. We can't pay the insurance premiums at 5 rupees. But they are willing to buy coal power at 17 rupees and 80 cents. But for those people, all those developers are people from this country. And this money, what we earn, goes 100% to this country, not to the Chinese or to anybody. But still, we are struggling to get 7 rupees for those plants, and those plants will get added up every year now. So nobody is willing to run at 5 rupees. And some of the companies who started this industry, because of all these issues, are at the verge of closing down. And the latest to all these issues is the payment stopped by the CEB for NCRE since this month. The reason given is that because the money spent for 6 months coal storage, they are not willing to pay money. Fortunately, now from last week, they have started paying 20 million per day. So, but then it will keep on accumulating. This is the first time in history that NCRE payments have been stopped by a utility. The only reputation we had with the utility, because of the payments, that also has been now violated. And the future. We see at least another 300 megawatts of small hydro potential, and wind power potential is quite significant. You all may know that the Wind Atlas was produced for Sri Lanka in year 2003, where it identified 20,000 megawatts of wind potential. But that does not mean we can produce 20,000 megawatts of wind power. But at least 5,000 megawatts of wind power potential is there in this country, even though we cannot absorb all that. Now a wind farm concept has come. They have stopped issuing license for 10 megawatt wind plants. There again, we are quite concerned about this wind farm concept, because when we go for large-scale wind farm projects, then all the big foreign companies can come into this country and bid for those tenders. Then it's a natural resource of our country. They get the benefit and as per BOI conditions, they can take out all the money from the country. So what is the benefit to us? There is nothing, because it's a resource of ours taken by the people of other countries, and they take the benefit. So we have to protect this concept quite carefully. And we see a big issue in this policy of 15% by 2015 and 20% by 2020. Because now you can see we are in 2014. We have achieved only 6.3%. And all even though the policy is there, all the targets are contradicting. Now, Mr. Ashoka himself showed that the targets of the long-term plan of CB, they are by 2020 in this long-term plan, NCRE is only 8%. And by 2032, NCRE is only 6%. So it is completely contradicting with the policy of the country. And also, if we have these targets, we should have breakdown targets for the next few years. I have seen in SCA, they make presentations on the targets, but never check whether those are achieved. But fortunately, now we have a dynamic chairman. I hope that he will take this into consideration, because from now onwards, if we want to achieve this, we have to monitor that what we have achieved at the end of the year. If we have not achieved those, what are the corrective actions and the proper actions to be taken? Then what we want as private power developers. You saw that we are going through 37 approvals. The purpose of setting up SCA was to make it a one-stop shop. That is why they have a huge director board and a panel of a project approving committee consisting of about 20 agencies. But that has become a one-stop shop, another shop for us, instead of one-stop shop. Because we get the approval from there, then again go behind all the other organizations to get the approval. I hope that the new chairman will change this. Then the second important thing is the long-term low-cost funding. If the utilities want lower tariff for renewables, then what we want is to access to long-term funding at low rates. In the past, when we started this industry, we had re-rate funding, but then we had to buy through commercial borrowings. But now we heard that the European funds are coming in. Hopefully, then the interest rates will come down in the future. And a reasonable tariff, as you all know. And the public has a very big misconception that these renewable energy developers are making huge money. That's why when we go for all these approvals, there's a big cost involved in getting all these approvals. So that goes to the next line also, the political influences we have. And the next important thing is now, as you all know, that our developers have gone into the foreign countries and started developing projects in those countries. But there again, those countries are very receptive for our developers, and they are giving all the facilities. Again, the problem is here. We can't take out the money from our country to those countries. The central bank approval is a huge task. So there again, we are stuck because of the difficulties in our own country. So that's about it. Few more things about the previous presenters, which I want to just mention. Again, Ashoka mentioned that SCA, the CAB should not have any problem in getting the tariffs, because they should be paid the voided cost and the balance should be paid by the SCA. I'm pretty confident that if a proper avoided cost calculation is done, our tariff is what we are paid on average is much cheaper than the actual avoided cost. So the SCA can make money out of this if you really implement this. But it should be at the actual avoided cost, not the forecasted avoided cost. Then the other thing is about the comment made by the Honorable Minister himself. He said that why we are going for coal is because this Tirasara power, that is stable power. But we can guarantee that our wind plants will give more stable power than the Noracholi coal power plant. Thank you very much.